like a mare possessed.
I feel fabulous.
Zipp flicked her hoof and stared listlessly at her phone screen. Normally, she thoroughly enjoyed working at the Maritime Bay Sheriff's Office. However, the key word was working. In what had to be some sort of Maritime Bay record, no incident had been called in for at least 2 weeks. No crimes reported, no mysteries needing solved, and not even a jaywalking pedestrian outside the office window. Was it the midsummer heat? Were the normally neurotic ponies of the Bay Area just too sweaty and sluggish to leave their homes? Were these past few weeks just one long deceptive calm, before some soon-to-be-sprung storm? Or was Zipp so bored that she was actively yearning for disaster to strike? She flicked her hoof again, prompting more scrolling. Zipp had leaned pretty far back in her desk chair. Perhaps she'd lose her balance and fall soon. All things considered, Zipp wasn't opposed to that. Better than staring into the depths of her stale social media feed.
Huh.
Zipp's barely audible murmur made Hitch perk up from across the room. I heard a huh over there. Huh means something's happening. What thing's happening? What's worthy of a huh? Clearly, Hitch wasn't coping with a slow work week any better than Zipp was.
Nothing, probably. I just noticed that it's been 40 minutes since I got a ping of Pip being online. She hasn't posted anywhere or updated any of her bios. I just checked.
Hitch huffed and tapped a few of his desktop computer keys. You're browsing FaceHuffle on the clock? That's unprofessional conduct, Deputy.
I'm browsing Trotter. You're out of touch, Square. FaceHuff is a dead platform, and hey, from where I'm sitting, it looks like you're browsing baby names. What's that saying about glass stables?
Hitch waved dismissively. I'm on important business. Now that Eggy is hatched, he needs to be added to the town's census records. And since he can't be called Eggy anymore, he needs a new name. One that fits a proper dragon. I'm leaning towards Spike, but that's a bit old-worldy, isn't it? Am I overthinking things?
Overthink what you want to, my dude. Not like we have anything else to waste our brain power on.
Hitch went back to tapping on his computer, and Zipp went back to scrolling on her phone. Still no posts from Pip, and a quick check of her sleep stream account confirms that it was offline. Pip definitely wasn't napping. If she was, she'd be broadcasting it. Worry had started churning the contents of Zipp's stomach. She tried to dismiss it as irrational.
How about Garble?
Huh?
Garble. Is that a good dragon name?
Hitch clicked to the next tab. I'll keep looking. There's 15,000 entries in here, and we have all day to go through every single one, Deputy. Zipp's vocabulary wasn't large enough to properly communicate how much she did not want to look through 15,000 baby names with Hitch. With 2 beats of her wings, she was halfway to the office door.
I'm going on patrol.
She lied.
Never know if I might spot someone, loitering or something. Gotta meet our ticket quota after all.
Uh-huh. Hitch huffed. Say hi to Pip for me.
What?
Come on, Deputy, I'm not as dumb as you think I am. Ever since you mentioned it, I've been wondering what super secret project Pip must be working on to keep her offline for so long. It's probably a big heap of disappointing nothing. But you go ahead down to the salon to check on her. I'm gonna stay put in case any townsfolk come in to report anything. He clicked to a fresh page of baby names. Plus, I still got browsing to do. Zipp rolled her eyes, but didn't linger. She was the Force's private investigator after all. The last time she was the only pony to sense a problem, the Harmony crystals malfunctioned, and somehow opened a black hole in the middle of downtown. The answer to today's mystery probably wasn't another black hole. Not unless it was localized entirely on the Wi-Fi router in Pip's hair salon. But still, Zipp pumped her wings through the hot, humid air as she cruised above town. She hoped that Hitch was right, that her bored imagination was worked up over a big heap of disappointing nothing. There was no black hole outside Main Melody Salon and Karaoke. There were no ponies either. But upon landing, Zipp did see a sign affixed to the front door. It read Ayer déjeuner, which Zipp's royal education recognized. It was French for out to lunch. This was odd. Not just because French was a dead language, but also because Pip didn't take lunch breaks. Ever. Lunch was for old farts who still use face-off, she often said, usually between sips of her third or fourth iced coffee of the day. Zipp's go-to retort to that was to make fun of her little sister's pudgy waistline. However, today she simply peered through the glass doors into the darkened salon, trying to discern whether any pony was inside. Zipp had expected the entrance to be locked, but it wasn't. So the door swung inwards to sprawl her face down on the foyer floor. There was her split second of excitement for the day, Zipp supposed. Also, the air conditioner was on full blast in here, making the foyer linoleum cold as gravestone.
Oh, dearest me. Was that clatter real or just in my head? Pip?
The foyer was dark, but the back room wasn't. Zipp made her way towards it, since that was also the direction of the voice that she heard. As she approached, the whir of machinery and toneless fuzzy music got louder.
Pip? Are you there? Ow!
Zipp stumbled forward, tripping over what felt like an overturned clothes rack. That didn't really parse though, since Main Melody wasn't a clothing store. Not unless you counted the stands near the register full of hoof-made anklets and earrings that Pip often commissioned off Izzy. The spa may have been a side hustle, but it never hurt to have a side hustle, as Pip often said.
Pip often said a lot of things. Hey, Pip?
Zipp had finally reached the back room, blinking at the harsh fluorescent overhead lights. Her greeting was drowned out by a sewing machine, of all things, with Pip hunched intently over the frantically flicking needle. The already cramped room felt even smaller, with piles of discarded fabric swamped up to Zipp's shins. And an utterly ancient phonograph sat cranked in the corner. That explained the fuzzy music, at least. Zipp recognized both the sewing machine and phonograph as family heirlooms donated by their mother, Queen Haven, when Pip was first getting Main Melody off the ground. Accompanying the donation was a long-winded story about how self-serve sewing and live vinyl records were all the rage in Haven's youthful days of social mixers. The sisters politely listened to their mother's prattling before stashing both pieces of junk in a back room. Zipp couldn't fathom what could have gotten into Pip's head to dig the machine and music player out again. However, she needn't ask, as Pip had noticed her come in.
Oh, a patron! Désolé, mon amour, but the boutique is currently closed. Huh? Boutique? Oh, you can be forgiven for not recognizing it as such. Not much of a clothing store with no clothes, is it? Save for those gaudy bangles on the stand near the register. But do not worry, dearie, I've been cloistered all morning working on new designs to fill these inexplicably empty shelves.
The corner phonograph continued its drones while Zipp regarded the shapeless blobs of fabric littering the room. Anyone who mistook the piles of clothes was a madmare.
Pip? Are you feeling okay?
Pip's eyes flickered to a clock hanging on the far wall, but in an instant they were back on Zipp, accompanied by a big, bright smile.
Oh, I'm fabulous as ever, darling. Perhaps a smidge scatterbrained, but I'm sure I'll shake this mental fog soon. I have my craft and, of course, my tunes.
She didn't include any mention of the wall clock, but she did glance at it again. Zipp wasn't normally the type to dwell on things like hairstyles, but Pip's mane looked different. For someone so obsessed with personal branding, changing her whole look was out of character for Pip. Of course, so was sitting alone in a back room surrounded by old world stuff. But that wasn't an outright cause for alarm.
I hate to be gauche for asking, darling, but is Pip some slang term of endearment? I fancy myself as an in-the-know debutant, but I don't ever recall hearing that word. Scratch that, sound every single siren.
Zipp lifted the needle off the phonograph, taking care not to scratch the record. It wasn't an easy task, since each of her legs were shaky and sweaty at this point. But now the maddening audio mush was gone. If Pip was out of her gourd, then Zipp needed to be undistracted and clear-headed enough for the both of them.
No, Terry, don't get hoofsy with that. I need my background noise while I'm working. Penelope Petals, I need you to look at me.
Pip nearly flinched at hearing her full name. Nearly. She pivoted on her sewing stool, facing Zipp with a look of barely restrained worry.
Pip, do you recognize who I am?
The pony, who superficially resembled Pip Petals, drummed her front hooves apprehensively. She had 3 paper cutouts of diamonds obscuring her cutie mark, though that was the least of her eccentricities right now. She seemed unable to answer Zipp's question, or possibly unwilling. However, she did look up at the clock again, and when she did, Zipp seized the chance to tackle her.
Hey, this is uncouth behavior! Who in Tartarus are you, and what have you done to Pip?
Zipp and the mystery horse thrashed blindly amid the piles of fabric.
Unhoof me, you...
Zipp desperately shoved her face into her sister's.
Pip, are you in there somewhere? Blink twice if you are! Oh, for crying out loud, Zipp! Yes, I know who you are! You win! Happy? Jeez.
Pip squirmed out of Zipp's grasp and regarded the clock once again. She was pouting, flustered, very much herself again.
Seriously, would it have killed you to let me stay in character for the final 6 minutes?
Zipp tried to sputter a response. No coherent words came out. Not until she saw Pip reach behind the sewing machine, pulling out her cell phone, and hit pause on the video camera.
You were filming some dumb bit?
Pip huffed, appalled at her sister's ignorance.
Oh, come on, Zipp. Don't you ever check the Snapchat trending tab? Or are you still browsing old dead apps like Trotter? You should know that the main 6 challenge is totally hot right now.
Zipp was woozy with adrenaline, but she did vaguely understand the video clips Pip was showing her. The first was of Posy, a gardener from down the road, rolling a virtual die. After it landed on one of the 6 ponies Zipp didn't recognize, Posy began strutting around her orchard with a Stetson hat on her head, yammering about apples. The second vid was of Sunny Star Scout rolling the same 6-sided selector. It landed on a different pony, prompting Sunny to flare up her horn and wings before grabbing the nearest book and staring deep into the pages. Zipp rubbed her tired eyes as the third clip began. It was Izzy Moonbow applying 5 differently colored stripes of paint to her hair.
You stay in character for an hour,
Pip explained.
Then you pull all of your best moments to upload as a montage. I was so sure I had Rarity in the bag when I pulled out Mom's old sewing machine and record player. So, you weren't crazy. Then how come you were listening to warped, tuneless static? Oh, is the record player actually broken? I thought all old-timey music just sounded like that.
Zipp rubbed her eyes again, this time in exasperation.
So, you aren't possessed by a ghost either? What? Of course not! What gave you such a ridiculous idea?
Zipp didn't have an answer, so she didn't give one. This was the weirdest afternoon she'd had in a while. Though, it was better than browsing baby names with Hitch. Unless Pip was about to rope her into helping cleaning up the back room.
What are you gonna do with all this fabric?
Pip had deleted her previous 54 minutes of phone footage and was busy smoothing her mane back into Rarity's ridiculous bouffant curl.
Oh, that stuff can stay there. It's all Lizzie's, so she can come pick it up whenever she needs it. Hopefully not in the next hour though, since I gotta start my recording all over. Wait, seriously? You're doing the whole thing again? Tut-tut, darling.
Pip giggled.
I wouldn't understand a plebeian such as you to understand the haute couture of chasing internet clout.
Zipp rolled her eyes and trotted for the foyer.
Well, maybe browsing baby names with Hitch was preferable after all. Whatever makes you happy, I guess. Just don't get lost in character, okay? Au revoir, mon petit papillon. I'll be sure to tell my most gracious viewers about you.
The front door slammed, signaling Zipp's departure.
Spoil sport.
Pip propped up her phone and ran a hoof through her hair to double-check the curls. She'd actually wanted to ask Zipp to join in, but knowing her sister's chronically rotten luck, her own die roll would have come up as Pinkie Pie. I thoroughly enjoyed that. With Casket Base, you're guaranteed an amazing story no matter what. And just as a side note, the bickering between Hitch and Zipp is just irresistible. Anyways, let's get on to our trendy donators. Top donators: Cat-gjf, Zar630, J Tinman, Only One Thing, Ceru, Orion, and IronSky. Darkside, Rayden, Narwhals, Blackmoonheart, Pastel Skies, Austin, Rolan, Stu Hex, Sword Brother and Mordred, Omicron, Lyrae, Will, Chris, Twinkie, Riot Soul, Badass Waffle, Shadow Moon, Luigi88, Chancellor Crust, Big Smoke 369, and many more beautiful people. Thank you all so much for watching this video and live life to the fullest.